Froggy here. If you hear an echo, I'm standing in the shower. This is going to be a video on how to replace a cartridge, a leaking cartridge in a Moen, M-O-E-N, single handle controller. Now, this one doesn't leak. This one's okay, but the reason I'm showing you this one is because it comes apart easy. I'm also going to show you the one that's leaking too. If you want a video that doesn't have a lot of detail, there are some other videos on YouTube that will skip the detail. If you want detail, stick with Froggy. Okay, here we go. First off, you need to shut the water off to the whole house. In my house, that's right there. It's just a 90-degree swing on this handle. It shuts off the water to the whole house. Right now, it's up is off, down when the handle is in the same direction as the pipe, that's open. What you want to do is open some faucets and let the water drain out of the whole house. My house is a two-story house, so I opened up this downstairs bathroom faucet to let all the water drain off. That way you don't get as wet when you start opening up some of the other ones. This one I'm not working on, just draining. Leave it open for now. Now I get to the fun part. Take this single handle, turn it up. Here's a set screw that you've got to remove. Hold on, I'll give you the size. Here's the other set screw from upstairs. It's either 5/64 or 5/64 or it might be 3/32. The reason I'm saying that, and it sounds confusing, is one of my Allen sets, it's 5/64. The other one, it's 3/32. There's not too much of a difference between those two, but anyway, don't go by the number. Go by how it feels when you put it in there. If it goes in and feels tight, that's good. All right, so we got this almost all the way out. Just pull the handle off like that. Remember, when you do this job, it's not going to come apart easy like this, because this one there's no problem. It's not leaking. It's like new. So take the handle off, put it aside. This is a handle adapter. You have to take this Phillips screw in the middle to get that out. Let me show you. This is a little Phillips extension off of my cordless drill. So there's the screw in there. So just unscrew it and pull it out. It might stay stuck in there because of all the grease they put in when they put it together. If it stays stuck in there, you'll need to get a little paper clip or something and hook it out, get it out of the way. Pull it out. This is the handle adapter, and this is where I'm stuck on my other one that's actually leaking. See how nice and easy this pulls off? Well, mine is stuck on there. So what you're going to do is get that screw out, and then you're going to fill up this hole. You're going to soak it, because right there is where it's stuck, inside that hole. See, it's got two flats on it, and it goes on to this piece here. It just slides on, slides off, but if you've got a leaking one, it's going to be stuck. Remember, this is all the way off when you turn it that way. All the way off. No, excuse me, got that wrong. That's all the way on. All the way on hot. This is all the way off. Sorry about that. So, now what I'm going to do is going to switch to the other one, but I just wanted to show you all those steps. I'm going to put this one, sort of put it back together, because now I need to go get my one that's really leaking unstuck. Get this handle adapter unstuck. This is the one that's actually leaking and needs replacing. And as you can see, this is stuck. Let's put it all the way off. There. Off, on, yeah. This one, it's stuck on there. I was able to get the screw out. It's got a lot of grease in there, and the grease wants to hold the screw in there. But if you play with it a little bit and use your Phillips, you can kind of gently pull it out. If that doesn't work, let me show you what I was going to do. Here's my backup. I was going to take a paper clip and put a little bit of a angle on the end of it, and then get in around the edge of it and pull it out that way. But I didn't need to do that. But I'm just showing you that in case you need to do that. Now I've got to shoot some of this. This is PB Blaster. It's a penetrating lubricant, more than a lubricant. It's to break loose things that are stuck, usually things that are rusted together, but it'll also work on this, I think. And you don't have to waste a lot of it, but you've got to get it to where it needs to be. And remember, I showed you on the other one those two flats in there. So I'm going to put this in there a couple of times. I'm going to get a rag so that when I know it's going to run out, I'm going to get a rag so that I don't make a big mess. And I'm going to shoot it and let it sit a while, shoot it, let it sit a while, shoot it. And then eventually I'm going to start pulling on this handle adapter, and I think I'll get it off. So I'm going to go off camera for now a little bit, but I have described to you what I'm going to do. When you spray the PB Blaster in there, make sure you get the straw all the way in there. See how it went in a little bit further? It hits something there, and then you find the hole, and it goes further. And then spray as you come out. There. I made a little mess. But you want to get it all over the place inside of here before you start trying to pull that off. Now I'm going to tap on it a little bit with a small hammer. I'm trying to break loose the corrosion. You could even use the wood end of the hammer. You want to get it started. I'm going to need 2 hands to pull on this. But as you can see, I showed you on the other one, there's nothing else holding it. It's just corrosion. You just got to pull it out. I'm going to go off camera now, use 2 hands. Okay, here we go. So I got it. Took me about 10 minutes. I'm recreating this. I already got it off. I had to use both hands. What I did was I kind of kept moving it to different positions and then wiggling it side to side, up to down, move it a little bit, side to side, up to down, and then eventually it comes off, just like that. Just like that. So, now don't be a gorilla. You're going to damage this, you're going to damage something. You got to just kind of be persistent at this. Keep lubing it, get the lube straw all the way in, tap it with the hammer, wiggle it, so on and so forth. Okay, it'll come off. Alright, now we got to go further in. So now we need to take, I've already got them off, alright? 2 screws here, they should come off pretty easy. They're just what holds this decorative plate on there. Now you can take this whole thing off, and there it is. That's your cartridge, right there and inside of this brass fitting. That's what you got to replace. And there's a lock, a sliding lock thing. It slides down, it slides up. This is probably going to be the hardest part. And I'm going to show you a way to use like a puller to pull it out. You can try pulling it out with a pair of channel locks or vice grips or something like that. Maybe I'll try that. But first you've got to pull this little locker out. It goes straight up, straight down. And it locks the cartridge into the brass part. I'm going to need 2 hands. I'll come back on camera in a little bit. Okay, here's what I did. I got a pair of vice grips. I got a small nail locked into the vice grips. I put the head of the nail through the hole on that piece and I just pulled up. And it wasn't that corroded since it's outside the area of where the leak was, and I think it's like brass on brass, so it didn't really want to corrode. So anyway, I've got that out. Now we're going to pull this. I'll try just pulling it with my vice grips and see what happens, and then I've got another plan. Let me go back to 2 hands. I put this back on here. I want to go back to the full off position. Off. Because when I pull the valve out, there's a little tricky part here. The new one has to go in the same as the old one. Some of them are marked here or here. This one's not marked. It says HC or HC. And if it says HC on the top on the old one, when you put the new one in, you have to have HC on the top. If it's on the bottom, the new one has to have it on the bottom. That has to do with how the inside works. I'm not going to get into it any more than that, but you could have your hot and cold reversed. Alright, so mine's not marked. I'm going to have to use another method to figure it out. But I wanted to get back to all off. Right there. All off. I tried pulling with the vice grips here. Then I tried with a little pry bar. I had the vice grips attached here, and then I pried against the vice grips. The trouble with that is when you're pulling this, all the pipes in the wall are moving with you too, because the cartridge is stuck to this housing. I'm going to take a trip to the big box store and see if I can find a puller. They make a puller for this. So I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, Froggy's back. Here's what I got. I had to go to 2 big box stores because the first one had the puller, and they had a generic cartridge. I didn't want to use the generic because I've heard that they don't last very long. The second store they had pullers also, and then they had the real Moen cartridges. It's 1222, I believe. We'll see if that goes in. I think it will. And I got some plumber's caulk to put around that decorative piece so that when you're taking a shower it doesn't splash behind there. And some plumber's grease, which I think is just regular old silicone grease. Maybe it's got a little higher temperature rating. Anyway, it was only $3, so I've got silicone grease. It's automotive, but what the heck. A little extra silicone grease is good to have on hand. So, anyway, for you guys and gals that don't live near big box stores, I really feel for you because I've got one that's about 2.5 miles, actually it's about a mile and a half away, and the other one's about 8 miles away, so. Anyway, let's open up this puller. Now, before I do this, there are a couple of other ways. I told you could try pulling on it with vice grips. There's a way you do it with a socket and some washers, and then you put one of these screws in. I'm not going to show you because I'm not going to actually do it that way. If you want to go online, you can find somebody who does it with a socket. It didn't look like it would work that good for me because these 2 little ears right there are in the way. I mean, they're going to get busted off or something if you try to put a socket around that. fitting. So I got the puller. It was 30 bucks, I think. And I'll show you how to do it that way, okay? And so here's what you do. You back out this little hex screw quite a bit. Maybe not all the way out, but quite a bit. And you back up this big, well, it's also a hex screw, so that you can place the tool on the cartridge. Now it goes on like that, right up to there, and you maybe can see it's hitting up against the plastic. There's a little notch there. See the notch up against the plastic. Then start the little screw a couple of turns to get it engaged, and it's engaged in that shaft that has a thread on the inside that's part of the cartridge. So get that engaged, then take the big hex and screw it until it's up against the outside, sorry I'm a little out of frame there, the outside of this fitting. Tighten a little bit, tighten a little bit, tighten. Hold on a second. Okay, let me back up on that a little bit. Tighten the little hex screw quite a bit, so it's really screwed into that shaft, that threaded shaft. Then tighten the big one, and you should feel the whole thing get tight. Not super tight, but a little bit tight. Then you start turning this piece. Hold on. Here's how Froggy does it. You want to tighten this nut a lot. Well, let me clarify that. Once you get it finger tight, tighten it about one more turn with a wrench. Your wrench doesn't have to be this big, but that's just one I happen to have handy. Tighten it up so it's real snug. So this hex screw goes in quite a long ways. This hex nut, you hand tighten it and then wrench tighten it about one more turn, maybe 3/4 of a turn. Don't bust anything. Then you start wiggling and pulling. Let me put this wrench down. You take this T-handle thing and you wiggle it and you pull it at the same time. Twist and pull, twist and pull, twist and pull. See, this is not staged. I'm just doing this live. Twist and pull. And then, now, before we get too far, remember, I got this to the shut-off position. Go back and look at the video again if you need to. I don't have markings on this, HC, on this original one. So I'm going to have to note the position of the holes that are in these two black seals here. You'll understand it more when I get to it. Let me show you the new one. I'm going to take the new one out of the box. Here's the new cartridge. This has, remember I told you about the HC marking. Mine doesn't have an HC marking, but on these seals on the sides, one hole is going to be close to the outside, I'll call it the outside or the stem side, and one is going to be into the wall. See that? So the way yours comes out, and I don't know yet how mine's going to come out, put this new one in the same way. So we'll see that. Now, you can also try rebuilding these cartridges. I wasn't going to bother doing that. And also, one other point, there's a little tool that comes with this cartridge that can help you get the old one out. Here's the tool. It helps you twist the cartridge to get it moving, and then you'd have to pull it with a vice grip. So if you want to save buying that fancy puller, which was in that box, you could try it just using that tool. Okay? So let's get this out all the way. I'll put my new one up there and see what we've got. Oh, tight, tight, tight. Probably gonna need two hands. Out she popped. The right side has the hole into the wall. The left side has the hole out towards the shower. So into the wall, out towards the shower. The little rubber seal popped off. So it pops out pretty quick. So a new one, right side is going to go into the wall. I'm not ready to put it in yet. I'm going to check this hole. That means HC goes down on mine. HC goes down. And that'll replace it the same way it was before. Otherwise, your cold is hot and your hot is cold. So that's important. You don't want to have to take it apart again and do it over again. So I'm going to lay this up here. Just like that, with the HC down. Now I can look at this a little closer. I'm not going to do this on camera. I'm going to look and see if I can figure out where it was leaking. I think it was just generally, it might even be right there where my fingers, whoops, where my finger's touching. But I'll look at it a little bit off camera. Doesn't look like anything's really torn apart. I think it's just compressed from normal use. So I think most of where my leak was coming from is this O-ring gasket right at the back. These two control the hot and the cold, and I wasn't having any trouble controlling the hot and cold. If you're having trouble with controlling the hot and cold, it's probably these side gaskets, but if it's just a kind of a leak in general, it's this gasket in the back. And it was a very small leak, so I can see one spot on it where it's a little bit ripped. Now, that might have happened when I took it out, but I think it is just, you know, from years of hot water up against it and turning. I suppose this thing turns, so it just wore out. So I'm going to check inside here and make sure everything looks good, and then I'm going to show you how to put the new one in. I'm going to try and show you how clean I've got it. It looks pretty good. See, this is where it was leaking out the front here, and then it was going down inside. This is some number 600 sandpaper, and I wrapped it around a brush. I'm not going to use the brush, just the sandpaper. I want to clean any deposits, hard water deposits, so that all my seals seal nicely. I'm going to use this very, very lightly. If you have like 800 or 1200, I might even suggest you use that, but this is all I've got right now, 600. Just going to clean it up again a little bit so that all those rubber seals seal. What I'm doing. Very light. I don't want to create leaks. I want to stop leaks. We blow it. Alright. I'm not going to try and get it perfect, but I'm going to use my finger and touch it and see if it feels smooth. And I can see better than what I'm showing you on the camera, so you can't really go by this. Let's call it good enough. I don't want to create any leaks. So the only place you have to put grease is around these black parts. And that O-ring, all the black parts. So I'm going to put some grease on. I'm also going to put some in the fitting with my finger where those parts are going to rotate around. So let me use two hands. Try something here. Those rubber parts are not actually going to rotate around inside there. It's internally. Internally is what's going to rotate. These are just going to seal, hopefully seal for a long time. So I'm ready to put this in. And remember, the hole towards the wall, that further hole, the closer hole towards the shower, and HC down. Okay, so that's the same way my other one came out. It went in pretty good, a little bit of resistance, not too much. Whatever you do, don't force it because you could tear those rubber seals. So that's in. I'm going to drop my locker down there and we'll go back to reassembly. Let me show you this. It was really hard to get this started, to get this clip started, because it's just a very tight fit with the cartridge. So I just took a screwdriver and a small hammer and I tapped on that white plastic there and tapped on that white plastic there, trying to get as much as I could in, get it started, to get this pin started coming down. So I got to get the bottom now, but I wanted to show you the top. It was really hard to get it started. Maybe the bottom will go easier. Okay, I got the bottom in. I took my screwdriver and tapped on the clip at the bottom on both sides, try to get it towards the hole. Press down at the same time. If you had two people it might go easier, but I'm doing this all by myself. Anyway, that clip has to be all the way down. See it? All the way down. Okay? Now I'm sure the worst of it is over. Let me, well, it's getting late. I'm going to do some other stuff later on, like clean this up and then put some new caulking in there. But I want to get this back to working again, so everybody in the house can have water and flush toilets and take showers and stuff like that. Wash dishes, and then I'll come back. It should be very easy to take it back apart up to this level, and then I'll fix this stuff up. But I'm really out of time. I've got another thing I've got to do today. So let me show you the rest of it. This goes back on. The handle adapter, leave that off for now. See, there's a little spot at the top that goes over that clip, like that. Line it up so off is at the bottom. Now I'm going to try to catch those two screws. It'll be a little tricky because, you know, you're blind, you can't really see where they're going, but I'll get them in. I got them in, just takes a little time, just be careful, find the hole, screw them in. Put the handle adapter down, on. You know, the new cartridge will have the brassy stem aligned someplace. It won't be right where you started, so just have to turn this a little bit, find the flats where it goes, and then that should be right. It should be all off, all hot. Oh, sorry, I got my finger in the way. Back to all off. And we'll test it, of course. It's going to be stiffer than the old one because it's new. So there, let's get the handle back on. First thing is the screw that holds the handle adapter on. And I lubed this up really good so it'll come off easily. And I'm going to tighten that up just a little bit. You don't have to tighten it really tight. And then the handle with the set screw. I tighten that screw up a little bit. Now, the handle and the set screw and your Allen wrench. You need two hands. Okay, it worked so far. I have to wait a few days and see if there's any leaking in the wall. I don't think there will be. One problem though. Remember when I told you my original cartridge did not have the marking on it for HC, hot cold? I'll show you. Well, it's under the tool, but anyway, hold on a second. Right there, where it's supposed to say HC on one side or the other, I showed you on the new one. So my suggestion was to put the new one in with that back hole towards the wall, the front hole towards the shower. Well, it didn't work. My hot and cold are reversed. So I'm going to wrap up this video, but here's what I want you to do. Here's how I'm going to fix it. I've got to take my new one out, rotate it 180 degrees and put it back in. That's it, period. Now, I don't know how to tell you if your new cartridge and your old cartridge both have that marking, HC, then you're good to go. Just put the new one in the way the old one was. If you're like mine, I guess the new one has to be reversed. So if the old one had this far hole into the wall, the new one has to have that far hole outside. I guess that's the best I can do for you. I would try that, and if it doesn't work, you're going to have to do what I'm doing, pull it out and flip it. Okay, I hope this helped you out, guys and gals. Give me a thumbs up or a like if it did, and subscribe to my channel if you want more. See you later. Happy weekend. Froggy out. Bye-bye.